And now we're at the main event of the evening, folks. It's Jack Hermansson, Jack the Joker Hermansson, versus Jared the Killer Gorilla Cannonier. And man, this is just a great matchup, and it's an extremely high stakes matchup. The winner of this fight is going to be essentially one fight away from contending for the middleweight title. So Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker are competing for the middleweight title here in a couple weeks in Melbourne, Australia, and the winner of that fight is going to take on Paulo Costa is going to get the next crack at the middleweight title after those two guys compete. That's sort of already set in stone. But whoever wins this fight is going to be given, Yoel Romero or the loser of Whittaker and Adesanya, or maybe Kelvin Gastelum if he looks phenomenal and gets a big win against Darren Till, like a big knockout against Darren Till or something. Like they're going to be taking on one of those three guys. Those are the only guys left above them in the division, and if they win that fight, then like that's going to be their number one contender shot. So this is like you're not like an eliminator for the next number one contender shot for these guys, and it's just a great matchup. Let's talk about what these guys both do well. Jack Hermansson, I think he is the most well-rounded middleweight in the UFC and thus in the world, I would say. He has just phenomenal timing with his wrestling. He knows how to time his shots, off of your offense, similar to a GSP type. He's nowhere near GSP, but similar to that. He knows how to duck under the punches to time his double legs. His ground and pound. He says he has the most vicious ground and pound in the sport. He has some freaking great ground and pound. I don't mind him, staking a claim for the title. He's up there with some of the best ground and pound in the sport, some of the best top control in the sport. He fought Jacare Souza and Thales Leites, two of the best jiu-jitsu grapplers in the entire sport of mixed martial arts, and he was willing to go down, to take them down and fight them on the ground and try to implement his own ground and pound. That kind of confidence when you're going up against true world-class submission specialists like those guys is just next level, man. And he went for a guillotine on freaking Jacare, which is just ridiculous. Like, he tried to sub Jacare and he damn near had it. He's got extremely long arms, 77.5 inch reach, which is just ridiculous for a man his height. It's actually the exact same reach as Jared Cannonier, who also just has ridiculous long arms, So Jack Hermansson, he knows how to use his length. Like, if you watch that fight versus Jacare, he was just peppering Jacare with that jab all night and using his range so phenomenal. And then he's got a full plethora of diverse kicking attacks as well. Like, he kicks with a front kick to the body. He kicks with high kicks. He'll throw a question mark kick. He can throw leg kicks. He really does it all. He's extremely well-rounded. His cardio is out of this world. Like, his work rate in a 5-round fight against Jacare was mind-blowing. Like, when you watch that fight with him and Jacare, you're like, oh, Hermansson is like a legitimate title contender. Like, he might do work on everybody in the division. And then Jared Cannonier, man, the Killer Gorilla. That is an accurate nickname. This guy is just a physical beast. His physicality is second to none in the middleweight division. He's a guy who fought at heavyweight for most of his career, got to the UFC, fought at heavyweight for a couple of fights, dropped to light heavyweight, fought at light heavyweight for a bunch of fights, and then dropped to middleweight, dude. And his physicality is just next level, dude. Next level. He just ragdolls people. The way that he just shrugged David Branch off of him time and time again. David Branch was trying to maul him from the start of their fight in Jared Cannonier's middleweight debut. And David Branch is a guy who competed at 205. So he also is a guy who competed as a bigger middleweight and felt the physicality of bigger fighters. David Branch went the distance with Rumble Johnson, for God's sakes. And Jared Cannonier just ragdolled David Branch. You know, the way David would take him down at the start of the fight, David just tried relentlessly to take Cannonier down, and he took him down a few times, but every time, you know, Cannonier just got back to his feet and it was just shrugged him off, and you know, David just like, okay, and I'm gonna go for the takedown again, and Cannonier's like, all right, and shrug him off. Like, his physicality is just second to none in the middleweight division. Like, it's light years beyond anybody's physicality. And then he's got serious one-punch knockout power. He's got the most thunderous, ferocious leg kicks at middleweight. You know, he freaking just tore Anderson Silva's knee apart with leg kicks. And he's got just violent, aggressive ground and pound. Like, when he gets you hurt, he's just pours it on. You know, so he's just going to be looking to just shrug off Jack Hermansson's wrestling attempts, and he's going to look to just land bombs. And he's only had 2 fights at middleweight so far, and he's just looked like such a world beater. It's going to be really interesting to watch him against a guy in Jack Hermansson, who also has just looked like a world beater as of recently, and see what the upper limit is on Jared Cannonier. Like, if Cannonier just ragdolls Hermansson again, like, then Cannonier is like the new scariest guy in the middleweight division. Like, Yoel Romero move over, scariest guy in the division is Cannonier. Like I said, he's just a physical freak for the division, and he's just got big, long arms, extreme knockout power with his hands. You know, he's fought at heavyweight, for God's sakes, and didn't look weak or small up at heavyweight. So him at middleweight is it just seems like a cheat code. The fact that David Branch was able to take him down a few times in that first round, even though Cannonier was able to just, you know, seemed like it effortlessly, you know, get up anytime he was taken down, and took absolutely zero damage from David Branch anytime Branch did take him down. You know, the fact that David Branch was just able to get the takedowns at all, you know, makes me feel like Hermansson, you know, is a bit of a better fighter, and he can mix it up and be a lot, and, you know, he can learn from David Branch's mistakes, you know. So ultimately, Hermansson is going to look to be unpredictable and mix it up, time his takedowns intelligently, not just, you know, press forward and just shoot for takedowns willy-nilly. He's going to look to, you know, duck under the punches and time his takedowns really, really well. He's going to look to utilize his preposterous top control, maybe the best top control in the middleweight division, you know, some of the best ground and pound in the middleweight division. But his ground and pound is, like, great in volume, and it is great in power, but the kind of power that Jared Cannonier can deliver with his ground and pound is just frightening. It is truly frightening stuff. So, I mean, this main event is an amazing one, dude. It is phenomenal. It's got high stakes. It's featuring 2 extremely talented fighters, and the guy in Jared Cannonier, we have no, like, what his upper limit of capabilities are, we really don't know. We're just starting to scratch the surface of it. So, I mean, he could be an absolute world beater, and Hermansson has looked like a world beater as of recently. So, I mean, this is as high level basically as you can get in the middleweight division outside of, you know, the title right now, like Izzy and Whitaker. That is, you know, one of the best fights of the year. But whoever wins this fight is going to be in line to take on a title shot, take on a number 1 contender fight, and then a title shot in early 2020. And, you know, I just can't wait to see how this main event plays out. I think I'm leaning Hermansson right now, but, man, I wouldn't be surprised if Cannonier just KOs him, TKOs him in vicious, aggressive fashion, and is the next big thing at middleweight.